Distribution is a big part of outbound logistics. You see, things have to flow, okay, to the final customer or from the supplier to the business, okay? So either way, when we talk about outbound, we're talking about what is happening when the goods, okay, or whatever it is that you're producing or the resources are to move from the production to the next person, which could be a customer or could be another business that is going to use them. This is where transportation comes in. Although the thing with transportation is that there are a lot of challenges, okay, when it comes to it. And we shall see why that is so, because it's one of those things that doesn't necessarily add value to whatever is being produced, okay? And so if you're going to start this as part of your supply chain business, there are things that you need to have in mind. That is one of the things that you need to have in mind. Anyway, we shall later see that. At this point, I just want to say that if you haven't subscribed to this channel, kindly do so. We do put out videos on procurement, supply chain, contract management, business-related stuff, okay? So do subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if at any point you have something that is bothering you, or you just comment it in the comment section. Transportation makes up a huge element of distribution, and that can include rail, road, air, or sea transportation. And the truth is, when it comes to a decision regarding transportation, those decisions will just come down to the following. Number one, the type of load, the preferred carriers, and the speed of the requirement. And so if you are going to be dealing with these, most of your negotiations, most of your agreement will just come down to those three things. Whether you're doing this as part of employment, or you are doing this because you want to start, as part of your own business. Now, either way, there are certain terminologies you need to be aware of when you're dealing with transportation. And we're talking about, number one, freight forwarders, which refers to organizations that provide logistic services as an intermediary between the shipper and the carrier, typically in international shipment. Here's how that works in practice. So let's say John, who is in Kenya, wants to import some electronics from a manufacturer in China. Normally, you just think that I'm just going to click a button and then those things are going to arrive, right? That is how technology has made the whole thing to appear so simple. And yet, the reality isn't that way. So here's what is going to happen as far as that process is concerned. So depending on the terms, the manufacturer contracts a freight forwarder to arrange the shipment of a batch of smartphones to Kenya. Now, here's where the freight forwarder comes in, okay? So the freight forwarder, if that is a business that you want to get in, so here's what that person is going to do, or that company is going to do. The freight forwarder assesses the client's needs, including the volume of goods, the preferred mode of transportation, that is it air, is it sea, and the required timeline. So they provide the client with a quotation that includes transportation cost, custom duties, and other relevant fee. And so the freight forwarder, okay, is going to assist the client. Remember, the client is the Chinese manufacturer, right? Okay. So it's going to assist the client in preparing the necessary documents that are going to be used in the process. So again, you want to buy something. You're in Kenya, you're in South Africa, you're in whatever country you are in, right? And those things are overseas. So you bought them, the guy who's manufacturing them has somebody, okay, a freight forward, to handle the shipment to you. So, of course, this will depend on the type of contract you're using. I mean, sometimes for example, if it is Incoterms and you're using the X works, then that means you just have to go there and handle the entire, import, okay? So you're not going to use anybody. Or even if you use somebody, that is entirely up to you. So in this case, you're assuming the manufacturer is the one who's contracted the freight forwarder. So moving on. Once the documentation is in order, the freight forwarder books cargo space with a shipping line or airline, depending on the contract. But what if whatever it is that John is buying, okay? What if whatever John is buying is not enough to fit in a container? Let's assume that they're using a container. The freight forwarder may consolidate it with other shipments to optimize space and reduce cost. So again, once that has happened, whatever you bought, okay, whatever John has bought, gets to the country. The freight forward will help with custom clearance and all that stuff, and finally have those things delivered at a destination that has been agreed on. So you see, the job of a freight forward, which is something that you need to, as we said, it's something you need to know, is to assist, okay? So they are an intermediary between the manufacturer and the client or between the wherever it is that you're buying from and the person that is buying. So they're in between there. Something else, we've talked about Incoterms, which is something that you need to understand. If you're having a problem with international commercial terms, which is what Incoterms are, there's a link in the video description that will take you to a series of tutorials regarding Incoterms. So the other terms you need to be aware of are full truckload, that is FTL, which is a term that defines a shipment that occupies at least one complete truck trailer or allows for no other shipper's goods to be carried at the same time. Number 2, less than truckload. This is often used by carriers or trucking companies that consolidate and transport smaller, lesser than a truckload, shipments of freight by utilizing a network of terminal relay points. And then you have less than carload, LCL, which describes a shipment that is less than a complete rail car load or load shipment. So those are terms that you need to understand in relation to transportation. In addition to those terms, you're talking about logistic management, transportation in terms of logistics. You are still going to be required to understand terms like cubic space, cube utilization, freight consolidation, drop ship, duty-free zones, and Incoterms. Again, I've said, if you really are interested in understanding international commercial terms, which is what Incoterms stand for, there's a link in the video description that will take you to a series of tutorials, regarding Incoterms, all the way from, ex-works, free carrier, deliver duty, all that stuff, as far as Incoterms are concerned. Now, there are two things you need to have in mind when thinking of transportation. Now, think of it this way. The first one is that, you see, the way we have environmental issues, one of the biggest issues as far as companies are concerned, we're talking about things like ESG scores and all that stuff, right? So there's always a question of the impact your activities as a company has on the environment. And transportation happen to be one of those things that companies are concerned about, in terms of the effect transportation has on the environment. And so most companies are looking at how they can scale back on transportation, especially when it comes to things like importing things overseas. So you'll realize that some companies prefer to do business with the local, within the local environment. So that might actually affect your transportation business. Also, the idea that transportation doesn't necessarily add value, This is something that is based on the lean principle of the 7 West, and transportation is one of the 7 West. Transportation is the movement of materials from one location to another, and this can be considered a waste as it brings no added value. So you're really going to have to convince companies on why they need to do the business with you, And that means making sure that they understand that your services are the best if you're doing this for business, If you're in the logistics management aspect, if your logistic management business is actually transportation. So that is something that you're going to have rather to factor in at the back of your mind. So if there is any question, just leave it in the comment section. You can inbox, you can email. Our social media handle is @Zerite Network, be it on Facebook, X, Instagram, whatever. See you in the next video.